Welcome to another episode of the Armchair Pundits. And we have an international break special, meaning that we're not doing anything to do with the Premier League. But
Well,
we
well, we
will be
kind of we
doing
kind of are, but not current.
current
We're
Premier
not
League,
current. Yeah,
really.
we're not
Yeah.
current. Yeah.
So this show is the all-time best right backs in Premier League history. And the stipulation is the player has to have had 2 full seasons in the Premier League. So that is the only real stipulation on it. In terms of um, trophies and all that other stuff, it's up to you, or up to each one of us, if that's going to be a deciding factor. But before we go any further forward, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification button. So, how you guys doing? Have you enjoyed this international break so far? Some good games.
There's been some good football, to be honest, Jay. Some good football and some interesting results as well. To be fair,
Mm.
Quite a few penalty shootouts. I actually
Yeah.
only saw highlights of stuff. I haven't seen any games in full, but yes, that's the kind of what they wanted the Nations League to be. They wanted it to be competitive, and most of those matches going into the second legs were it was all to play for. So,
Question for you guys.
mm.
A really quick question, actually. Do you think those games were competitive because they didn't care? As in, we don't really care about the Nations League, so we're going to be free? Or do you think they were competitive because they want to get to the final? Because there's a school of thought that people don't really care about the Nations League,
mate,
so the players are a bit free, so they're playing better.
none of the games I looked at looked like people didn't care. To be quite honest to you, even the game that we were talking about before the recording started, the Spain-Netherlands game, they look like they're up for it.
Yeah, same.
I think when top players are matched up with each other, you want to. That's the stage where you want to prove I can play at this level. I can play against these guys, and realistically, this is the only time they're going to get to play them because for most of these teams in their World Cup qualifying groups, they're not going to play any good teams because of the way it's structured now. There's barely any groups of death or anything in qualifying, so you're literally just going to be playing.
Look at English group, bro. but yeah,
so this is the time for them to play the big boys and test, potential tactics for big tournaments and whatnot. Obviously, it seems early, but it's really not. There's like literally a year and a couple of months before the World Cup. So
true that. Okay, so the format we're gonna do, because of time, we are gonna name a top 10, but 10 to 6 will just be named, and then we'll only discuss 5 to 1 for the positions there. And at the end, depending on what our top 5 looks like, we may decide to do an overall who is the best right back. But it might be a case where ours are so different that it's not going to work. But if they're close enough, then we'll decide who's the best right back in Premier League history, in our opinion. So, as I like to say, without any further ado, I'll start with Lamont. Looking at my screen from left to right, I'll start with Lamont. Just run down your 10 to 6.
All right. I'm going to start off. Does it matter? Well, I have to go 10 to...
Yeah, so 10, 9, 8, 7, etc.
Order.
In order, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So, my number 10... my number 10 was Gary Kelly. I didn't see much of him, to be honest. But from what I saw of him, he was well renowned. He was a one-club man as well. So that's why I put him in at number 10. My number 9 was Reece James. I put Reece James at number 9 just because I feel like his injury plague, if that's the turn of phrase, really kind of, I fell out of love with him as a player as such, more than anything. So I feel like he's still got a lot to prove, man. He needs to stay fit and see what he can do. My number 8, make sure you're keeping his numbers, yeah, because you know what I'm like with these numbers. You know it's going to fall over at some point. Yeah, don't laugh too soon. You guys are going to go, hold on, that's only 4. Anyway, my number 8 is Branislav Ivanovic. Again, really good player, quite prolific, solid. But yeah, He's my number 8. 7, I went for Pablo Zabaleta for City. I'll say for City, but Pablo Zabaleta. He was a good ambassador for the Premier League. Again, quite a steady hand on the right side. And he'd done a couple of stints like Ivanovic in central defence. My number 6 has to be Sagna. Obviously, he got a little bit of a major leg break, so that probably stunted his progress in an Arsenal shirt. But I feel like he was very effective for them on the right hand side. So yeah, number 6, Sagna.
Okay, so at number 10, I had Dan Petrescu as my number 10. Played a lot of games for Chelsea. He was in the early days of the Premier League. I think he was a solid performer whenever he was called upon. I think he was, one of the better right backs going forward at the time. Much of the right backs were just tasked with defending, but he was one of the ones that were good on the ball and good at going forward. At number 9, I had Seamus Coleman. I think he was excellent for Everton during a period where they've had a lot of ups and downs. He's been one of their most consistent players, and I think even when Everton were sort of, pushing for the top 4, I think he was an outstanding performer then. At number 8, I've got Reece James. Similarly to Lamont, I think Reece James is, if it wasn't for the injuries, I think he would quite easily be in the top 5 Premier League right backs ever. He doesn't really have a weakness apart from his injury proneness as a player. Every time I've seen him, I've been impressed. I've seen him play live enough times as well, and he is. I think he's actually at the current crop of England players. For me, he's the best all round. He's just not fit. So he's my number 8. At number 7, I've got Branislav Ivanovic. Again, for Chelsea, like quality, especially in defensively. He was part of, one of Chelsea's strongest defenses. So for me, it was pretty easy to have him down. Not so great going forward, but still one of the best, I think, in that position. And then number 6, I had Cesar Azpilicueta. And similarly, he played in so many positions for Chelsea, but right back was his best position. And he was capable of going forward. He was versatile. He got assists. He was particularly good at crossing the ball. And a leader for Chelsea. So that's my top, my 5 or my 6 to 10.
Okay. Me, number 10, Dan Petrescu. Similar to what Leon said about his style of play. Number 9, Reece James. Injuries have prevented him from being higher. Number 8, Bacary Sagna. Thought he was excellent for Arsenal in his time and was decent at Man City as well. Number 7, Zabaleta. Strong, powerful right back, defensively strong. I think you'll probably see a pattern of most of mine being defensive first right backs. And then number 6, Lauren. Underrated right back for me. People forget how good he actually was. He was one that he's probably played the least out of all of my right backs on the list, but I rated him highly. So number 6, Lauren. So from here, we'll do one at a time, using the same order if you want. If you want to switch it so it's not a bit too easy, if someone's always going first, then we can
chop it up. We just chop it up, innit?
So do you want to snake it? So then you, Leon, me, then me, Leon, you?
Yeah, do it like that.
Okay, cool. All right, so start with you then. So who is your number 5?
All right, so my number 5 is actually Cesar Azpilicueta, however you pronounce his name. I kind of respected his gangster as a right back. He weren't the quickest, very clever, not scared to do the dirty work, and he played the game very well. obviously ended up being, a skipper for his club, just because, he was pretty consistent. So yeah, that's my number 5.
My number 5 was Lauren. I was deciding between Azpilicueta and Lauren. For me, during that period at Arsenal, Lauren was super impressive. I think he was versatile. I think he was a midfielder before he came to Arsenal, and they played him at right back, and he never looked back. He was quality. He went to Portsmouth after that as well, and he was good for them during their little stint at trying to. I think they won their FA Cup, but I think he was just one of those players who, in that Arsenal team, obviously they were invincible as well. So I'm sure we'll never hear the end of it. But he was quality, and that's why he's my number 5.
Okay, so I'll do 5 and then I'll 4. So 5 for me, Branislav Ivanovic. He was a tank, got goals, 22 goals in his career, 20 assists, 88 clean sheets in 274 appearances. He was captain at one point as well. Also played left back, also played centre back, but obviously his main position was right back. And at one point he was unbeatable for a spell. No one could beat him. So he was 5 for me. Number 4, Trent. Trent is... It's a weird... Some people say it's a weird one. Defensively, obviously he's not great, but his overall package for what he did in the Premier League for Liverpool, he changed how right-backs were looked at completely. And his passing abilities, assists, 58 assists and 15 goals from right-back. Clean sheets, 68, so not that bad still with his clean sheet record. But yeah, if he could defend better, he would be a lot higher, obviously. But he transformed the right back position for me, so I've put him 4th.
It's funny because I had him exactly the same place for the exact reasons that you specified. I don't think he's as bad defensively as people make out. But in terms of when we're talking about a top 10 list, you want him to be in the top you want him to be in the top 5 of defending, really. But he makes it into the top 4 for me just because of how good he is from that position. And, the difference he makes when he is on a pitch for your team going forward. As much as defending is obviously super, super important. And for me, as you know, I don't want my teams to be exposed, but it's difficult to argue that his influence has changed the way people think about that position. And for me, that's the reason he's number 4 and not higher as well.
All right. My number 4 is Lauren. Yeah, he's effective, he's quick, strong. He was in, I think, did you mention the unbeatable? When he in the unbeatable
the
Arsenal?
Yeah,
the Invincibles, that's it. The Invincibles, got his little golden Premier League. So, but yeah, he was very effective for them. And, not many wingers could get around him. And I feel like, yeah, they struggled to replace him straight away, Lauren, when he left. But I imagine he was one of the first names on the score on the team sheet when Wenger was putting his team together defensively. Anyway, so for me, Lauren's my number 4.
And your number 3, dog.
Number 3.
I got to do 3. Or was it Leon? Leon's doing 3. And it was snaking.
3.
I'll do my 3 as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Begrudgingly, I got to put Trent number 3. Now I say that.
Had him ahead of me.
The reason, really and truly, he should be lower on the list because of one thing and one thing only. He doesn't really defend, does he? However, for reasons that Leon already stated, very clear. He's in the side. Your team have that much more of a percentage of winning a game because of what he can deliver from the way back where he is. And I feel like also being a right back and knowing that the left wingers are quite tricky, he kind of nullifies them wanting to be so high up, so being in the danger zone because of how dangerous he is. So you could argue that he's probably more effective than a left winger without it sounding too confusing. Do you know what I mean? He gives way more to your team than a like tricky left winger would do, attacking wise. So yeah, man. Trent, you made it to number 3. You lucky man. On my list, anyway.
Yeah.
Trust me, these men know that was a hard one for me, boy. Yeah, who's next? Is that you, Lee?
Yeah, it's me. My number 3 was Pablo Zabaleta. During the Man City before Pep, I felt that he was probably, I think, at least a couple of those seasons, the best right back in the Premier League. And it wasn't really a question. He was versatile. He was good defensively. He was good going forward. He contributed to attacks. He got the odd goal every now and then. And I think in terms of his all-round game, the ability to be able to play that position and be effective both going forward and defensively, that's the reason I had him at number 3. Controversial compared to some of the other people that have been picked, but for me, it was a no-brainer.
Okay, my number 3 is Kyle Walker. Some people have him as probably the best, but similar to Trent, I don't think he was a great defender. I think what he had was supreme pace and strength, and he often said, "You can't get around me because I'm fast enough to get to you." But he would fall asleep, he would make mistakes, and he would cost. It sounds like someone that shouldn't even be in the top 3 when I'm talking, but
yeah, I was about to say you're not talking him up here, Jay.
But look at 36 assists, 8 goals, 130 clean sheets in his time, 395 appearances, and he also revolutionized defending. Like I said, what part of his weakness was his strength. The fact that he said to people, "You're not going to get past me. I will race you." And more often than not, it intimidated certain players. So it gave them an edge. And Pep has got a record and said that there's no Man City football without the way Kyle Walker plays. And it's true. End of the day, it's very true. So very, very good. But 3rd for me. Leon, you can do 2, and then I'll do mine after.
I've been flirting between these 2 because, yeah, I mean...
in fact, that's going to mess it up if we do 2 and then 1.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do my 2.
All right, go on then.
My number 2 is Gary Neville. It's not much you can say. Listen, he gets cussed now because of his commentary, and it overshadows how good he actually was as a right back. Being a Liverpool fan, I know from firsthand watching him torment us, laugh at us, and do all that kind of stuff, and just generally defend fantastically against us. 35 assists, more than I thought he had, to be honest. 5 goals, again more than I thought he had, but in 400 games, probably should have had a bit more. 148 clean sheets in his time, but he was just very good at his job. He often asked for help, but that was part of the game in those days. You got your right winger to come in, you got your right sided centre midfielder to come in, and you blocked things off. But he also played centre back at his 5'5" height. He played centre back for quite a few games as well. So with all the talk and all the other stuff, he was an excellent right back. And a lot of people have Kyle Walker and him as 1 and 2, and which is probably why people are surprised why they're not 1 and 2 for me, but they're not.
Yeah, you got another one, number 1 in mind, yeah?
Well, we already know who's not named, so...
Oh, gosh.
So, yeah, over to you, Leon.
Yeah, so I have Neville as my number 2. For me, he was Mr. Consistency, but I also felt like, and this is not a knock on him, I didn't feel like there was for me, he was like a consistent 7-8 every game, unless he made a mistake. That's the kind of player Neville was. Yeah. He wasn't like he was easy on the eye. He wasn't someone that would do, and he said it himself, he was nowhere near talented as some of the guys that are on this list. But for consistency and for being reliable at his job and having that leadership as a right back, and he played for the most successful club in Premier League history. pretty much.
That's got to matter for something, isn't it?
It's got to matter for something. I had him as number 2 simply because I don't think he's as talented as the others. But in terms of what he offers to your team, he's got to be in for me in the top 2, and I've put him as my number 2.
Do I have to say my number 2 now?
Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is Kyle Walker. Now, the reason why I tell you Kyle Walker is my number 2 is because it was weird. Because when James was saying what he was saying, it was like I was kind of thinking the same things in terms of the errors and the times that he falls asleep and loses focus. But because of his pace and his power, it kind of balances it out. His recovery is probably the best I've seen in the league from a fullback side of things. But I also feel like, similar to Trent, he does give something going forward. He gives the extra whiff. He's a danger man inside the box because most fullbacks are not quick. So if you have someone overlapping, which he does very often, and someone that's going at pace, as he does all the time, you know, there's going to be loads of mistakes being made by the defenders that are trying to defend him in them situations. Don't get me wrong, I do feel like the icing on the cake, or, you know, to have him at number 1, he would have just had to have had more quality for me personally. He would have had to have more quality to add to his attacking prowess. But
in product.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so probably more in product. But outside of that, for me, Kyle Walker, I would definitely consider having him on the bench if I was putting a team of greatest together. So who's the number 1 first?
I can do my number 1 first. Yeah, and it's obvious because I named him and you just talked about him. So my number 1 is Kyle Walker. The reason I picked Kyle Walker is if I was going to pick a team to say who do I want as my starting 11 to represent the Premier League against all-time La Liga, all-time Serie A, I'm going to pick Kyle Walker out of for me, I would have picked Kyle Walker. In terms of one-on-one defending against especially tricky wingers, you rarely ever see him get beat. I know he does have lapses, and we've seen it. And recently, obviously, he's had a lot of things going on. We won't talk about that, but he's obviously got older. But when you see him play against the top players in his position, you rarely ever see him get beat. And the times where he goes to sleep is often when he's not being focused on the opponent because he's not seen them as, I don't know, maybe
a threat,
enough of a threat, and he's taking his eye off the ball. But when he's up against the best, you very rarely see him get beat. And for me, obviously, he's been successful. He's played in our Pep team that relies on playing a high line the whole time. Literally, they never play low block. He's probably never had to do it under Pep. And like every time he's had a serious challenge, I've always seen him step up to it. So for me, I pick Kyle Walker as my number 1. His record speaks for itself.
All right.
Lamont, you going to do your number 1?
You don't want to go first?
I can do. Okay, cool. So my number 1, which will shock everybody, is Cesar Azpilicueta.
Really?
Yep. For me, underrated in terms of positionally, fantastic. Similar things to what Leon was saying about Kyle Walker, he did it without the pace. When you actually watched him, he very rarely got beaten one-on-one. Very rarely got beaten one-on-one. Whether he played right back, whether he played left back, he was Mr. Consistent. And it wasn't even like Mr. Consistent 6 out of or 7 out of 10. He was 8 out of 10 most games. In games where, in teams where they didn't concede any goals for Chelsea, became a captain at Chelsea. 35 assists, 10 goals, 115 clean sheets to his name as well. He was just a really, really good defender. But he was smart with it. And when you had those guys that guys that I call cheats, where they'll do stuff that you think, come on, man, that's not a foul. But he'll be in a sticky situation, and all of a sudden he'll win a free kick. You're thinking, how does he win a free kick from Zaha or Ronaldo or someone literally looks like he's about to beat him? He gets his body in the way. He gets his back in the right position. It's almost like who plays it similar to him? Who's the Aston Villa captain? What's his name now? The Scottish guy. I forget his name.
John McGinn.
It's like he always got his bum in a position. Pause. That nothing was getting past him. He always had the right position, and it was weird how he did it. But for me, he was an excellent right back. Attacking, defending, like I already said, but not as glamorous as the other guys, and not as boring as Gary Neville, not as PC.
All right, so let me just interject, okay?
Before we go any further. Say your number one in it, and then you can
number one first.
All right, so my number one is Gary Neville, right?
Of course it is.
And I'll tell you why. No bias or Man United bias, yeah?
Of course not.
But let's just hear me out. I've always said I feel like Cesar Azpilicueta is a poor man's G-Nev, because he was doing it before Cesar was doing it. He was kind of, mastering consistency, ultimate focus, knowing how to galvanize your team, how to really kind of get into players' heads when they believe they're coming into the game and they're the better talented, individual, and they feel like they're going to run ring around you. He was doing that from early. I feel like where he came from to where he ended up, his game definitely developed from just being an out-and-out defender, wasn't really going forward, to eventually, and I'm going to use this term very loosely, making marauding runs forward. I use that very loosely because he wasn't necessarily the quickest, but he did add
overlaps. He had
overlaps.
The overlaps.
Yeah. But I'm saying he weren't doing it at pace. He was just kind of trying to get by. But I feel like what he added to his game in terms of quality of delivery into the box and so on and so forth left him with, some of the stats that James quoted earlier on, which is like over 30 assists and so on and so forth. And I feel like that really added an extra little thinking part for any of the opponents that he faced. And I honestly do believe that in a team of leaders, he's someone that you want to solidify clean sheets and, reinforce what the structure is and what the plan is in the team. If anybody's going out of sync or out of place, he'll quickly get them in line. So he's definitely, probably the first name on the sheet before the keeper, to be honest with you, G-Nev. But yeah, man, that's my number one, unbiased.
You know what? I'm messing up my own argument here, but honestly, like, I think even Neville's admitted this. Like, there's a couple times where he's playing up against certain man and he's just kicked the crap out of them. It was just dark arts, bruv.
This is it. He literally was that.
But that's why I had Azpilicueta over him, because he didn't have to.
I hear it.
Tactically, he didn't have to do that. He had more nous in that regard. Obviously, it's a different era. He probably couldn't kick lumps out of people because he probably got sent off, and Gary Neville got away with it.
I mean, Gary Neville's had nearly 400 games, and some of those games were in some of the
349.
There you go, and some of them were in some of the real tough times when you had some butch. I don't have to say butch, but you had some real solid players out there, like powerhouses that will just run by you, make you look like you're nothing. Because he's got to kick them down. Because what else is he going to do? He can't catch them for pace. And positioning wise, there wasn't no such.
He was okay. He wasn't great positional.
He weren't the greatest, but I feel like in terms of just being able to take a plan and execute it out on the pitch and not defer from that. Not many mistakes from him. Honestly, there weren't many. He for me is number one, man. Definitely number one for the right backs.
Do you think he could have survived away from Man United?
No,
nah, he wasn't as. I don't
think that's what. Exactly. You can't count it against him because he was there and he was integral to them. Like there was no. They had a bag of players. They had a bag of players that Man United brought in, but no one was playing over him as a star.
No.
While he was there,
because you knew the philosophy
until he lost it. So you can't really argue with his record. You say could he have played? He wouldn't have won what he won if he wasn't at Man U. Of course not. But would anyone?
Would he have been as good? I mean, would he have been good if he'd gone to a different club?
So I feel like because of the transition, like in his early days, I say early days. I think the early part of your career where you were still winning trophies, maybe at that time, but at the tail end when he was more like
sitting.
Yeah, he didn't do. There wasn't too much
overlaps.
going on his side. Yeah, he wasn't doing too many overlaps and that. Then maybe not at that time, but I reckon in his prime, because of the consistency, similar to a Milner, yeah, you take him because you know that you're gonna get a certain level of football from him. Do you get what I'm saying? You can rely on him not to make mistakes, to deliver the plan that you lot spoke about in the dressing room and go from there. Whereas the rest of them, they might go rogue if they make one mistake. If he makes one mistake, he's not going to go rogue and start doing his own thing. He's just going to go back to what the plan was, literally. So, yeah.
I think he would have. I just feel like he would have got more exposed because those teams aren't as good. When he was at Man U, he was always playing with two of the best centre backs in the league. So I like the way that we've seen how Neville has acted through his professional career and how he's acted since he's retired. His work ethic tells you that he would have done well no matter what. It's just that we are at Man U, so he's won so much because of the fact that he was at Man U. But he's also part of the reason that they did win because he was one of the people who set an example for all the new guys coming in and making sure that they adhered to the standards that they adhered to. And you can see that part of the reason that Man United has gone to where it is now is because they don't have that in their culture anymore. So, boy, it's a good debate. And to be honest with you, that Cesar take, I can understand it because I'll be honest, even going through this list, my top 7, I was like, I really don't know. Any one of these guys can make it in the top 5. But I think Cesar's underratedness comes from the fact that he was part of the most Jekyll and Hyde Chelsea like era. Like they went from winning a couple of titles, finishing mid-table, like finishing 6th and winning a Champions League, winning a Europa League, and
winning Europa League. He won everything.
Won everything. But to be honest, also he was in a team or in teams where there was a lot of big names, like a lot of world renowned names, like household names, and he was just saying that as the quitter
all the time.
Do you get what I'm saying? He was just saying that as the quitter. Yeah, literally. So
Dave. Nickname, innit?
Yeah, so it's one of them. I feel like had he have been in another team, maybe he might have got some more mentions. But yeah.
But unfortunately, it looks like Lamont has won this one. Considering I had Gary Neville as number 2, I think Leon had Gary Neville as number 2, and you had Gary Neville as number 1. So the Premier League right back of all time is Gary Neville. But can't really complain. He set the standard in the Premier League, and he deserves to be where he is now. We're not going to... It'll be a while before we see anyone overtaking with potentially Trent leaving, and obviously Walker's done pretty much in the Premier League now. So it'll be interesting to see if... I think the only one left is whether Reece James can come back and get back to form and stay injury-free and become the best right back after Gary Neville. But he's got a long way to go before he can claim that title.
He needs to take that serum, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say.
Serum. That's the only way, bro.
Yeah, literally.
Because he's built like an ox. He's strong, but he's still like the body.
He's got all the defending fundamentals, Lee.
And the tech, though, bro.
And the tech.
He's got the tech as well.
Yeah.
He's got a free kick today for England.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Like Trent now has to be worried again because Tuchel's is a Reece James fan as well.
100%.
He's also a man that he deals with form. Although I was a bit dubious about his selection for England, but he in form players, if they're in his team in form, they're playing. The others can sit on the bench. He don't play.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. And don't forget to hit that notification button. So when we make new stuff, you get alerted straight away. So take it easy, guys. Peace out. Oh, look out for our left backs. We've done right backs. We're going to do left backs. So look out for that one as well. Take it easy. Peace.
Later.
Peace.